Hello YouTube and welcome to my channel. My name is Ariana Jasmine and today we're reacting to pro-Trump Republicans versus anti-Trump Republicans. This is about to be probably one of the worst debates that we've reacted to, but it's okay. It's okay. That's what we do here. So make sure you like, subscribe, comment for more videos like this, and let's get into it.
I don't want someone in power that's going to not want to leave. I don't want someone.
Oh my God.
Like,
you are not a Republican. There's just no freaking way.
Behind every Never Trump Republican is a story for why that person is weak.
Did you mean Barack Hussein Obama?
January 6th itself. I mean, was it a bad day? Absolutely. It was a bad day.
I have to disagree.
Quiet. You guys. Lady Maga, can you guide everybody in a deep breath? Hey, my name's John. I host a podcast called Radical Empathy. I also directed the Flat Earthers episode of Middle Ground. And as punishment, I've been asked by Ragini to moderate today's episode between pro-Trump Republicans and anti-Trump Republicans. The first prompt is, Trump is an honest man. Will the agreeers please step forward?
Fact-checking in this episode was powered by Ground News.
Are you serious?
You compare coverage across the political spectrum.
Are you serious?
Why don't you start us off?
Trump is an honest man because he has stood up for the truth in this country and paid the price for it. He has been persecuted more than any other political figure in modern times. And if he wasn't telling the truth, I don't think he would stick by it. And also, all of the witch hunts haven't really found him caught as a liar, so to speak, yet. So I believe he's an honest man. And I mostly believe he honestly loves this country. That's the most important.
Well, this aged terribly because he was found guilty on 34 charges of felony, but, you know.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. I think by virtue of how honest he is with his remarks and how off the cuff he is proof of how honest he really is. If perhaps he was more like Obama, someone willing to lie simply to get
I feel like he said honest 6 times in that one sentence alone.
votes to kind of hide his perspectives, he might be a little more popular by some of the other folks here today. But because he's very honest, he says things like shithole country. You know, he's impugned sometimes for that off-the-cuff honesty that I really respect, considering that we...
Okay, this man's definition of honesty is someone calling developing countries shithole country. Listen, I'm not gonna lie to you. Donald Trump is funny sometimes. I mean, he called Elizabeth Warren Pocahontas. He called Michael Bloomberg Little Mike. Like, I gotta hand it to him. He's a funny guy. Does that make him an honest person? No.
That we don't have a lot of honest politicians.
And we can't forget about creative editing in today's society. Trump is a transactional man. He's from Queens. And if anybody knows people from Queens like to exaggerate because they were always against the Bronx or Brooklyn or Manhattan. So it's part of his personality. But what I really like about him is not only, you know, has he been wrong about certain things? Who isn't? Is he a perfect human being? Who is? But do I think he's out there intentionally lying to the American people? No, I do not.
And I think Trump, if he were a liar, his life would actually be a lot easier because the press has come after him for things like using tax loopholes. And he'll come out and say, yeah, I use them. All rich people use them.
You
You're
made the
stupid
law.
if you don't use them. Why wouldn't I? And I think he's so unfiltered that he almost wouldn't have the ability to lie. That's just not his personality. And he actually gets attacked for being too honest and too glib, like you were saying.
Mm-hmm. All right, let's bring in our disagreeers.
I just can't agree. I mean, I think if Trump was an honest man, then he wouldn't be on trial right now for lying about having sex with a porn star and using his business records to cover it up so that his campaign supporters wouldn't find out. I think
Okay, so
anytime that MAGA places Trump up with Jesus, I mean, this happens all the time.
That doesn't happen. That's a lie.
Absolutely
That's a
does.
lie.
There was a segment in the Daily Show with his name, Jordan Klepper. There was a segment in the Daily
who's
Show with Jordan
Jordan
Klepper
Klepper? Who
where they
cares
went
what
to a
Jordan
Trump
Klepper
rally.
is?
Let's let him
Where they
talk
went to a
about
Trump
that.
rally. There was a segment where they went to a Trump rally and they asked supporters at the Trump rally, hey, does Trump remind you of Jesus? And they were like, yeah, he's been so persecuted.
Right, but what does that have to do with his honesty? You just brought up the, if I can finish, you brought up the Stormy Daniels incident, which he is literally being sued for saying, I didn't rape her.
Right.
He's being sued.
No. Stormy Daniels is saying that he had sex with a porn star.
Excuse me.
Yeah, sorry. I'm talking about Stormy Daniels, the case going on in New York right now, where he's being sued because he covered up a $130,000 payment by falsifying his business. No, he did.
Allegedly.
He did. He 100% did.
Okay, and New York City changed the law, making a misdemeanor a felony to make it a criminal trial.
Okay, but lying and having it be a misdemeanor is not any
and
different
again,
than
he
lying and
says
having
that
it be
he
a
didn't
felony.
have sex with her.
Yeah,
he said he didn't.
He still made the payment to her, and he falsified.
Well,
I don't know if he had sex with her or not. It doesn't matter if he had sex with her.
I don't think a porn star is a celebrity, with all due respect.
Well, with all due respect, you're 2.5 hours late, so I really don't care what you have to say.
Okay.
Sometimes obviously a lot more.
You know what? I left my son's
enabling.
birthday party an hour before he turned 9 just to be here because I felt
You didn't
that
know it
this
was
is-
going to be his birthday?
No, I did know it was going to be.
Okay, we'll get back on
I do
Todd.
want to keep.
Love and
I want to
light.
keep the
That's
focus
very
on the focus on the prompt.
So
We're
if I can
firing-
ask this
we're
young
firing on
man,
all
because he seems to bring up these trials a lot. So can I ask you?
Yeah.
Do you think that there is?
You didn't know it was gonna be your son's birthday? You didn't know? You didn't know you were 2 hours late? How dare you waste my time?
You're on a fucking Jubilee debate panel. You're a loser either way. It doesn't matter if you go in late or early, okay? I don't make up the fucking rules.
Ever been an instance of using the law to hurt a political enemy? Has that ever happened in this country?
I think that
Has that ever happened in this country?
Absolutely. I think that
Okay,
some of the no, listen, let me finish.
Okay.
I think that some of the cases against Trump are a little bit stretched. I will give you that. But at the same time, Trump did falsify these business records, and we've known about it for the past 5 years. It hasn't been brought to court because he was president, but as soon as he wasn't president, they brought it to court. There was $130,000 that he falsified as a business expense. So if you're going to say that he was being honest about that, he wasn't being honest. It doesn't matter whether it's a misdemeanor
And
or a
yet
felony.
they're charging
It's
it with
still
a
lie.
campaign.
Right. So let's say I give you this one instance of dishonesty.
But it wasn't
How does
one.
that
Look
prove
about
that in its
Jenny
totality,
Carroll.
President Trump is more dishonest,
I challenge
especially
you.
versus other
Let's
politicians?
RC.
Right?
Why wouldn't you want to?
You're giving me one example.
Hold on. Why
just
wouldn't
gave
you
you
want to
another
be
one.
honest about your business dealings,
Not
though?
just-
Okay, so his argument is basically like, listen, okay, Trump was allegedly, he was found guilty, by the way, allegedly charged with all of these felonies. How does that make him any more worse than other politicians? If that is ever your argument, you've already lost. You've already lost. If you're literally setting up the playing field as, hey, listen, what he did was bad, but every politician is bad. Why are you complaining? You're gonna lose the conversation. It's not a good argument. It's not a great foundation for an argument either. I mean, honestly, out of all the other cases that were put forward against Trump, the Stormy Daniels one was extremely clean cut. Like, there was no debating on that. The documentation was there, the proof was there, the evidence was there. It was one and done. 2 + 2 = 4. That was not one of the more complicated cases. Now, the other cases he has are definitely going to be a lot more complicated and a lot more complex. But the Stormy Daniels case, pretty straightforward. I mean, literally a toddler could look at the fucking case and be like, yeah, this dude's guilty. Which he wasn't. He was guilty. He ended up being found guilty, so...
Isn't that literally one of the most founding marks of American?
Again,
Well, the charge
we
is a
we
lie.
can debate the intricacies of this trial, which is literally being legislated right now in court. So
I would argue
but I'm
that
saying,
his
let's say
entire
you're right.
rhetoric is a lie. He's campaigning in 2024 on the fact that he won the 2020 election. He did not win the 2020 election.
How
he
many
is
presidents-
0 for 60 in court cases.
Well, let's
Okay,
not
how
even
many-
forget the
He is
entire
if you
tagline of
put a
Make
batter
America
up-
Great Again.
How many
America was already
presidents have
great.
been elected? How many bellwether counties do they have to win to become
It
president?
doesn't matter.
No,
There
it
has
does
not been
matter.
a single proven
Historically-
case of fraud.
All right.
There has not been a single
I want to
proven
just
case
pull
of
in
fraud.
voices who haven't spoke yet. Sorry, what's your name?
Travis.
Travis, you were trying to get in here?
The issue that I personally take with the honesty of Trump is that the entire tagline of Make America Great Again is inherently dishonest because America was already great. Sure, we've got a lot of issues that are going on in the country. We've got racial division, we've got political division.
When I tell y'all I've never heard that argument before, I'm not joking. That's a crazy argument.
Even the factionalism between the political sides are an issue. But that doesn't mean that America isn't already inherently great. We've got so many great policies that are in place. The American dream is still alive, I believe, personally.
Can I ask, did you take that directly from Elizabeth Warren or Hillary?
Neither.
Oh, I've heard them say that many times. I was just curious.
Well, it doesn't make it any less true even if they did say it. I mean, do you think that the American dream is dead? Do you think people just can't move
Well,
up?
if
no,
America
let
is
me-
so great under
let
the
me
leadership
answer.
of Barack Obama and Joe Biden, then why
Yeah.
even bother being a Republican?
Right.
But just to
Right.
close the loop, let's.
No, he asked me a
we got lots
question.
of great prompts.
He asked me a question I want to answer.
Oh, okay.
With a general statement. A lot of people would call you, our opposition here, rhinos. I will not use that word. I consider you Democrats.
And what does rhino mean?
Republican in name only.
That's just
I consider you a
Can I
Democrat
respond?
as well as you.
Yeah. And then let's.
I just can't. I don't understand how you can say that. I have conservative values. I have conservative values on abortion. I have conservative values on education. I just don't like a cult leader leading our cause.
Can I ask you, will you be voting for Biden or Trump, or are you sitting out?
I will be voting for Biden because I don't.
So you're a
conservative. Thank you.
How are you a Democrat if you vote for a Democrat?
Because I don't want someone in power that's going to not want to leave. I don't want someone.
Oh my God!
Like,
you are not a Republican.
At the end of 4 years,
freaking way.
After all of the leftist infighting that's been happening for the last week or two, this is very refreshing. I love to watch Republicans infight because I feel like the only people that fucking infight on a regular ass basis is people on the left. It's so freaking bad. Like, all we do is freaking infight. So watching all these Republicans infight and come at each other's throats, it's very refreshing. I could actually watch this all day, honestly.
It gotten to a point where, let's say there is an instance where Trump it's proven that he was dishonest about something. Are you willing to look past that? You were trying to make that point.
Well, the point I had made, and I didn't get an answer from either of these folks, which is, comparatively, is Trump more honest than other politicians? And we've given examples of how he is and how that has actually led to persecution from him. In fact, you're only kind of proving this. You agree that lawfare exists, but for some reason you don't think it's applicable in this criminal trial. So my question is, do you think he's comparatively honest based upon the fact that he's off the cuff and very authentic?
So first
Would
of all,
you give me that?
Just because all of the trials aren't the best cases doesn't mean that some of the trials aren't great cases. Like, for example, he kept files at Mar-a-Lago for 6 months with warnings from the FBI and CIA, and
So did
he
Biden,
had the
though.
chance to give them back, and he didn't. And so now he's on trial for it. That's a clear crime. The same thing with Stormy Daniels. That's a clear crime. So, like, I think that him being honest about certain things is okay. But if you're not honest about the big stuff, if you're not honest about that Americans can trust our elections.
You think Biden's more honest?
I think on the issues that matter, he might be than Trump. Because I
bring up classified files. Biden has mishandled classified files as well. I don't see how you can.
But he didn't willfully do that, and he gave them back when the FBI asked him.
Okay, let's reset because we're gonna.
Yeah, so the difference between Biden and Trump mishandling classified files, which, yes, they both did it. The only difference between the two is that Biden found out that he mishandled classified files and immediately returned them. Donald Trump kept it in the bathroom of his villa at Mar-a-Lago. So, as much as I hate both of them, probably equally, I don't think it's fair to say that they both mishandled classified material and they both are in the same camp, because Donald Trump hid all of it all across Mar-a-Lago and in the ballroom and the bathroom, which are places that you absolutely should not be keeping classified information, especially after you're done being president. You're not even a freaking president anymore. As opposed to Joe Biden, who found out he was doing it while he was a president and gave the classified documentation back. You're not being honest. You're not being honest about it, my friend.
I'm gonna get to all the good stuff again. So let's reset next month. Anti-Trump Republicans are Democrats in disguise. Will the agreeers please step forward?
So I think conceptually it's perfectly possible to be a Republican and say, you know what, I don't think Trump is the best option. I would rather someone like Ron DeSantis. And I know a lot of friends who are hardcore conservatives. They would rather DeSantis for X, Y, or Z reasons. That's totally legitimate. But at the end of the day, they're still Republicans. They're still conservative. So they're going to vote for the person on the ballot who best represents conservative values. That is Donald Trump. I don't care what kind of personal issues you have with him. You don't think he's the most honest, whatever. You don't like his business dealings. You can't tell me, though, that you honestly believe that Joe Biden is going to pursue a more conservative right-wing agenda than Donald Trump. There's no justification for that. And so, you know, anti-Trump, yeah, not necessarily. Maybe there's one or two people who...
Joe Biden has been incredibly conservative when it comes to immigration. He's been very conservative with his foreign relation, like his foreign policy. He's been pretty conservative with the way that he has been handling a lot of things like Social Security, other, you know, disability, welfare, stuff like that. So I'm just kind of confused as to what makes Biden so much less conservative than Donald Trump. I mean, Donald Trump he passed a lot more policies that were pretty hard line, but to be honest, like, I don't really, are they really that different when it comes to their policies? Joe Biden is mainly Republican outside of abortion and voting rights. I agree with you, I agree. But here's the thing though, I think even with abortion, it's just all talk. I think it's all talk. I think outside of who he would pick for the SCOTUS nomination, he's pretty much a centrist conservative. I don't look at Joe Biden and think, oh, this is a Democrat or a left-leaning man. He is extremely conservative, especially when you look at the way he's been moving. I mean, he ran off of Title 42 as bad, and then he ended up enacting Title 42 for like 3 years of his presidency. I mean, we're not talking about a dude that has expanded DACA. I mean, sure, he tried to give us $20,000 of student loan debt. His ass got clapped in the courts. They were like, no, you're not doing that. I don't know. I look at Joe Biden and Trump and I'm like, one is shittier than the other. Sure, I'll agree with you on that. But like policy-wise, they're kind of a little different, I guess, when it comes to certain things, but I don't really, I guess, I don't think the man's made any strides when it comes to, honestly, much of anything.
Describes themselves that way, but they're still a Republican. But it seems like when push comes to shove, 99% of the time, when there is someone who says, I'm a Republican, but I just don't like Trump, they also end up saying, and I will, in fact, be voting for Joe Biden.
Mitt Romney said that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, go ahead, my dear.
Well, and again, we've seen it with Liz Cheney and many others, and I think we have a problem with the uniparty in this country right now. When you look at...
What do you mean by that, uniparty?
What I mean by that I think that there's a lot of politicians that are funded by corporations and lobbyists, and they don't care about the voice of the people. What they care about is where the money's coming from. That's what I mean by uniparty. And I think it's on both sides of the aisle. I don't think it's exclusively Republican. I don't think it's exclusively Democrat. The problem I have is when we see our country right now, we've got 18 million people that have crossed our border illegally. We have over 100,000 missing migrant children, and we have Biden's State Department basically giving our military base in Panama, funding NGOs with military-age men and flying them into our country. If you can vote for that and say you're a Republican, I'm sorry, you're not.
Absolutely.
Sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
No,
it angers me.
I am a big believer in the phrase, by their enemies you shall know them.
Mm-hmm. It's so fascinating when people like this are so against immigration, because most of the people who immigrate here and work undocumented work jobs that these people on this panel would never work, including working in fields, working in restaurants, working in construction, working jobs that are very labor and bodily intensive, right? And so they're like, close the border, mass deportations. They don't understand that if we do close the border and if we do mass deportations, number one, the cost of things are going to go really freaking high. And number two, people like you aren't going to be taking those jobs. I won't be taking those jobs. So who the fuck is going to be putting our fruits on the table, our vegetables on the table, and helping build our buildings? The U.S. economy runs on immigration, thank you. So I just don't understand what these people think is going to happen. I'm just very confused. Like, I don't know what the fuck you think is going to happen. And also, I think Project 2025, I don't like to go into conspiracy theories and shit, but Project 2025 for me, I think is the only thing that Democrats can stand on at this point. I don't even know how legitimate it is, but it's one of those things where it's so fucking annoying because their party nomination is so, like, he sucks so freaking bad that they have to lean on something like Project 2025, and it's so annoying in my opinion.
I'm from Utah. I'm a gay man, a drag artist, but I don't believe in pronouns. I don't claim to be a woman. I would never go in a women's bathroom. But our very Republican Mormon governor, Spencer Cox, can't stand Donald Trump. He's just so mean. And our Republican governor has he, him pronouns in his social media bio. So he is allowing Utah to slide down the slope of wokeism. He is in no way, shape, or form a real conservative, and so people like my cowardly, emasculated governor hate Donald Trump, and that says everything to me. And as this young man said, he would vote for Joe Biden. Joe Biden supports aborting a 9-month-old, fully grown baby in the womb. He said he's pro-life, but he would vote for Joe Biden. So yes, he's a Democrat. These people are Democrats, as far as we're concerned.
Lady Maga, do you mind if I just do a quick follow-up
Of course.
on your story? How did you...
First of all, your name is Lady Maga. You're already a dumbass in my opinion, but aborting a child at 9 months, literally no one does that. The stats on that are so low. Also, only a couple states allow you to do late-term abortions like that electively. And even those states that do allow it, it's very, very, very rare. So this is a dead horse I've been beating for 2 years now. It's complete abortion misinformation. It's just not true. And, you know, even if Joe Biden wants to hypothetically abort a child at 9 months, which is just not true, he cannot codify Roe v. Wade. We're never going to codify Roe v. Wade again. We're just never going to have the same rights we had 2 years ago. So it doesn't really matter who the fuck is president. I mean, I guess it does, because if one of the justices like Thomas croaks, then Joe Biden can put up someone in his place, I guess. But outside of that, there's nothing that Joe Biden can do that's going to make us as a nation regain our abortion rights back. There's people who are grassroots in different states that are actively trying to make that come back, but the president himself, not going to be able to do that. He literally does not have the Senate numbers or the congressional numbers to be able to get that done. I don't know what else to tell you. It's just all fucking fear-mongering based off of shit that doesn't exist.
Do you find yourself as a conservative? I think most people would associate being a gay man. Is that correct?
Gay.
Being gay with being liberal.
But see, I think that's a lie too.
No, I'm just
that
addressing...
we as Republicans don't like gay people. That is a lie.
No, it absolutely
that is a lie.
It's great to know. I just want to hear
that very quickly. I am a biological gay man. This is my drag persona. I don't live my life as a woman. But I call it the LGBTQIA plus ever-expanding alphabet mafia. And I had to step away from the alphabet people, as I call them, pushing transgenderism, hormones, and mutilation on children. That was one. And as a dignified drag artist who loves to present a sparkly, fabulous character, I could no longer stand by and watch drag queens stripping in a thong and a trapeze in front of children who are the same age as my nieces and nephews. So I had to step away from that. And Donald Trump expanded who gets to be a conservative. The MAGA crowd, we are wild, we are fun, we are outside the box. I don't fit the cookie cutter suit and tie Republican, so as a gay man, that's why I'm a conservative, and there are millions of gay conservatives, but they're terrified to say anything because they will be attacked.
Was
supporting Donald Trump.
Were you a pro-Trump, right? Like when he first entered the political scene?
You know, I voted for him with my eyes closed. I was like, Hillary or Donald Trump? This is a gamble, but obvious I couldn't vote for Hillary. So I voted for Donald Trump, and then I watched him very closely. I'm not a celebrity worshiper. He's not a superstar. I'm not in a cult for Donald Trump. I scrutinize every single thing he does because that's my job as an American.
You're literally wearing a stash that says Lady Maga on it. This is your whole entire online personality, and you're trying to tell me that you're not a cult member? You've turned a deranged billionaire's brand to become a dictator into your whole entire online personality, and you still want me to believe that you're not a cult member. That is literally the definition of a cult member. Like, what the fuck does he think a cult member is? I love Rashida Tlaib. Will you see me wearing a stash of Rashida Tlaib and going around and dressing like her and talking in favor of her and making it my whole online personality? No, because I have my own personality. Cult members don't have their own personalities. They use their leader's personality and they morph it into their own.
American is to scrutinize anyone who has a leadership position that involves my life. So he won me over, and I know I'm talking too much, but the day he really, really won me over is when he called Haiti an SHIT hole. And I'll explain why. I lived overseas for 10 years of my life, working in the humanitarian realm. I spent years in Africa. Haiti is very similar to Africa. Children don't have their rights. Women can get raped with no protection from the police. So by calling a spade and using that phrase, I realized this guy gets it. He's not like Barack Hussein Obama, who's a cultural relativist who pretends that Haiti is the equal of America and our way of life. So as off color as the comment was,
This shit's about to piss me off. Okay, first of all, you dumb fucking asshole. No country operates like America. You can even go to Europe and they don't operate like America. America operates like itself. Maybe Canada is the most similar, but outside of Canada and America, no country operates like us. That's number one. Number two, there's places in America like Louisiana that literally feels like a developing country, babes. Mississippi feels like a developing country. Not every part of America is developed and has infrastructure and has internet all the time. Okay, you go to a rural fucking buttfuck town in Ohio, you're gonna feel like you're in a developing country. Third of all, you cannot call Haiti a shithole country if you do not acknowledge the history and the way in which we played a role into Haiti being so freaking dysfunctional now. You just can't do that, okay? The only reason why Haiti is in the place that it is right now is because of us and the French. So if you want to tell me you did humanitarian work, but you're looking at Trump and you're like, thank God this guy called Haiti a shithole, go fuck yourself. You were never a humanitarian worker. You only did it to stroke your ego. And that's why you've taken up this whole entire Lady MAGA shit. Because you literally don't know how to stroke your own ego and you find really weird ways of going about it. Sorry, not sorry, you fucking weirdo.
a little bell went off in my head like, this guy is not a polished teleprompter politician like Mitt Romney. So he won me over. Many other reasons too, but that was an important.
Yeah, thank you for sharing your backstory.
Sorry, could I just expand upon that? I think Donald Trump has won over a lot of people, and if you're anti-Trump in 2016, you don't want to vote for him, I could understand that more. But after seeing everything Donald Trump has done in office to advance the conservative cause, whether that's appointing the judges, easing the tax burden on Americans, trying to do something about the ridiculous immigration system, you name it, he has a proven track record of conservative government, maybe not as conservative as I would like, but it's still something. And so at this point, for people to still be, no, I would rather Joe Biden, there's no excuse other than you're a Democrat.
Let's bring in our disagreeers. We haven't heard from you yet. Why don't you start off?
There was like so much that said. Where would you like me to start from?
Whatever feels right to you.
All right, thank you. I think, first of all, when we say that it was an isolated incident, and just to touch back just a moment before, just because you have diarrhea of the mouth does not mean you're honest. It just means you have poor couth. You don't know how to be respectful and be, as a lot of you say, what is the Republican candidate movement is the word that's coming about. It's about faith, family, values, integrity. When you think of Donald Trump, do you think of integrity?
I do.
I do.
Yeah.
I do. But and again, I'm not looking for a pastor. I'm looking for a president.
That was more rhetorical. That was more rhetorical, if you will. Thank you. So I think that's the first thing to be said. And you said one incident with the Stormy Daniels. And
again, we're in disagreement there.
Okay, but let's go on. You just think about this for a moment. The likelihood of these two women being in the same room, a writer and a porn star, barely a celebrity, D-list celebrity, right? Even if she was an amazing producer and writer of porn films, okay? She's still very bottom D-list celebrity. And this woman who never would have crossed paths under any circumstances. Where are these women meeting, by the way? Is she writing the porn scripts? No, we know that's not true. And they both have the same story.
May I address
the
this?
same story. Let me finish. You've been talking a lot. Let me finish, please. It's just not coincidence. You have to say there's a little bit of shred of truth there that two women from opposite walks of life would have the same narrative. It just doesn't make sense that would be all lies. And so that's just the first thing, because you were saying, oh, it's only one incident.
No, I never said that.
Well, someone.
But I said what you're saying is not true because it doesn't give the entire fact of the matter. First of all, you say that you should believe women. Does that mean that you also believe
I never said that we should believe women.
Well, Tara Reid, for instance, who was slammed and shamed for accusing Joe Biden and actually had the evidence to back it up. You're talking about Jean Carroll. I would challenge anybody in this room.
$83 million.
I would challenge let me finish what I'm saying now, please. I would challenge anybody in this room to go into a crowded department store and scream that you're being raped and see what happens. There were no witnesses. This woman went on CNN, said that she thought rape was sexy, and named her cat vagina. I think she's a nut job. As far as Stormy Daniels, she had to pay Trump's legal fees last time.
How the fuck did we get to this point where a woman called her cat vagina or whatever? I literally stopped listening for 2 seconds, and this woman is going on about the most insane shit ever.
Time around. And let's not forget, her attorney that put her up to this is in jail.
And to be clear, I don't believe these two incidents are just coincidences. I think they're both actively lying and politically motivated. So no, it's not a coincidence.
You're giving little highlights of the story that suit you about Stormy.
No, that's not true.
That is true, sweetheart.
No, it's not, and don't call me sweetheart.
I can call you whatever I'd like.
Okay.
Let's just.
Sorry, I'm just very annoyed that we all sat here.
You keep going on and on.
We're gonna have to
completely
look,
irrelevant.
Yeah, we're gonna have to.
Clearly have a victim
We're gonna have to
mentality.
keep moving forward. I haven't heard from you yet.
Are we gonna?
I know time's more valuable for you because you're
Okay.
older, I understand.
Okay, so the prompt.
Don't. If you want to go there, I'll go.
Okay, so the prompt is, and.
Oh my God, she does kind of look like Marjorie Taylor Greene, honestly. Also, listen, I'm not here to say Stormy Daniels is perfect, but the case was pretty clear cut. The man paid her off using money that he wasn't supposed to use. Is that fucking simple?
Anti-Trump Republicans are actually Democrats. And you came in because you disagreed.
Yeah, well, I mean, and I have the perspective of really being a proud Democrat till 2012-13 when I started saying, okay, the left has completely lost its mind. And I mean, I've played at the White House 4 times, all with Democratic presidents. But I feel like I've never really moved on many of my issues. It's just the left has gone so far left.
Exactly.
Yeah, completely. But
he doesn't speak for all of us.
No. But the thing is, and Laura, you bring up a great point about, you can slice the pie so many ways of what to call each other. The elites and the politicians versus the uniparty versus everyone else. There's so many ways you can slice it. The Democrats can be cut up in different ways. Republicans can be cut up in different ways. But my main value is protecting individualism over collectivism, capitalism over anything else. Just these core values of America. And am I anti-Trump? Absolutely. Does that mean I'm going to vote for Joe Biden? Hell no.
Imagine saying that your core values are protecting capitalism above anything else. That just gave me the ick.
Not going to do that. So you can't just call it that, we're Democrats. No, I'm someone that was a Democrat, and I would never call myself that anymore, which is sad to say, but hell no. So it's complicated. There's so many ways you can slice the pie.
This man reminded me of someone, and I could not figure out who he reminded me of for the life of me.
Robert California for the manager position, who took one look around and left. He drove down to Florida and...
He reminds me of Robert California from The Office. I was like, wait, even the way he speaks is kind of like Robert California.
What makes you anti-Trump, if you had to choose one thing?
Well, I mean, even on the last prompt with, is he an honest man? Even that's kind of complicated because when you asked it, it's like, oh God, no, he's not an honest man. He lies like crazy. But Gavin Newsom lies, I think, worse than Trump does. You were more talking in the topic and aspect of, does he say things that the rest of us think in our mind and go, I wish I could say that publicly. Yeah, he does. And they all do. It's more, plus the reason I even added to this to be part of this whole thing is the idea that the left has just so many things they stand for is so hypocritical, so terrible, and they've put themselves on this tee as a ball for someone to hit as a grand slam and destroy them. And it's sad, especially from my perspective, coming from the left originally, to see that the person that we've decided to hit that ball and destroy them, which we should all be a team together to destroy this enemy, is Donald Trump.
It is so hard to fucking listen to this man. I don't know why he talks with that cadence, but it's really hard to follow him. He just needs to get to the fucking point.
Really? With all the great Republicans that I really love, he's the guy that's going to lead us to the promised land to save the country from the Marxist left and everything
Who would
else
you choose?
There's so many people. Well, actually, a lot of Trump's VPs, unfortunately, are some of my favorite people. Whether it's Vivek, whether it's Tulsi, whether it's Byron Donalds. I love Condoleezza Rice. We already talked about Thomas Sowell, one of my absolute heroes in the world. But why him of all? And the thing is, it has stifled this war to which we should all be together and destroying the left and stopping them. And now we're just fighting each other, and it's ruining the war to which we should be all together on.
Can I ask a question?
Yeah.
Okay, so we have seen 8 years of lawfare, and it's been very clear, lawfare. General Flynn, I was with him last night. His family was destroyed over a lie. over a lie. Russiagate was a lie. Spygate was a lie. I truly believe, murderers get 25 to life in prison. This lawfare, do you know how many years Trump's facing? 700 years in prison. Do you really think that he deserves that?
No.
And I truly think that if we allow lawfare to travel as far and get away with what they've done, we don't have a country anymore.
No, the precedents that could be set if
Oh,
he's
it's
convicted on these
disgusting.
things. It's like you can hate him. It's fine to hate him for this, that, and the other reason. But to allow the precedent, even the insurrection situation, which did he push it?
No.
Did he push it to happen?
Should I-
Kind of. But did he say go to the
Hold on.
Capitol and
Hold
blast
on.
with
Can
no?
I jump in there for a
please,
second?
patriotically.
Just to address the prompt real quick. If being a Republican is sucking up to Trump, then I am not a Republican.
I think being a Republican just means
Being a
not literally
Republican
voting Democrat.
No, that's not what being a Republican means. People are split ticket and are still a member of a party. I can be a Republican and vote for a Democrat that I think does a better job. It's not that complicated. People used to have sense and be in the middle. Like Bob Dole.
you would be so
there's a
successful
quote.
in the Democrat
Sorry. Bob Dole, there was a quote from Bob Dole where he said, my enemy, he's not my enemy, he's my opponent. And that's where I feel like we've strayed from the Republican Party. That's what Donald Trump brought in 2016, was this mentality of, we have to hate them because we don't agree with them.
Honestly, listen, I don't agree with this guy because he's clearly a weird pro-lifer. But with that being said, I think he has a really good point. I do think that extremism is a core part of our politics right now. And I think extremism on both sides is incredibly detrimental. And extremism on the left will be tankies, and extremism on the right would be MAGA extreme cultists. And so you have to think about it okay, you can be Republican, but if you're a sensible Republican, you can look at Donald Trump and say, this man is guilty of a lot of shit. He's done a lot of bad things. And since I'm a sensible person who can think for myself and come up with my own decisions, I am going to choose to not vote for him. And I think that makes sense. I think that makes total sense. But when you're like, I'm going to vote for the Republican nominee no matter what because I'm a conservative, I think that's super toxic because it's like, well, you're not sensibly thinking. You're kind of just actively being a part of a cult.
We have to hate them. They can't take office. They can't be anywhere near anything.
Are you quoting him?
What?
He said we have to hate them. Are you quoting Donald J. Trump?
He talks about Democrats as the enemy all the time.
But look at
he said fuck Joe Biden on his Truth Social.
Do Democrats talk about Republicans as the enemy?
Is that hate?
Young man, do Democrats talk about Republicans as the enemy?
I've been a Republican a lot longer than 2016.
Absolutely.
And I've definitely been hated longer by Donald Trump.
But I think that Donald Trump has exacerbated the situation. So much so to the point where he thought that it was so much of a tragedy of Republicans losing the 2020 election that he thought there's no way it could happen. There's no way because Democrats are so bad that the only way that we lose is if it's rigged. So what he did is he built up the tension 7 months in advance. He was telling his supporters that the election was only going to be rigged if he lost. 7 months in April of 2020, 7 months in advance, he said it is rigged if I lose. And then in August, he said it again. It's not a rigged election.
Let's dig into.
Can I just?
Yeah, we're going to dig into the election in a second.
Okay,
Can I add 20 seconds? No, you finish.
Okay, I was just gonna say, sorry. And then when he calls his supporters up on January 6th, you can say whatever you want about what he told them to do at the Capitol, but if you call your supporters up on January 6th, have a massive rally with millions of people, tell them to march down to the Capitol, it doesn't matter what he said. He set up Mike Pence as a traitor if he didn't accept those electoral votes.
You said we're gonna cover the insurrection.
Okay.
I have the luck of being a political strategist. So I've actually seen the data set of anti-Trump Republicans who are hard Republicans who usually do vote Republican in elections. I think the reason why that is because psychological manipulation is very powerful. And I think that if you're weak enough, you're susceptible to it. I don't want to get personal here, but we have people on stage, 3 young men who look like they haven't lifted a weight in their life. And we have a woman.
What does that have to do with my political?
And we have a woman.
Okay, I want to hear what he says about
I have a heart condition.
Hold on.
Makes me
Let me finish. And we have a woman displaying the Jezebel spirit here despite her age.
Jezebel
Despite her age.
spirit.
Wow. The point I'm making is behind every
Cleavage.
never
Even
Trump,
Melania shows
behind
cleavage
every
more
never
than I
Trump
do.
Republican is a story for
let's
why
hear
that
this point
person
out.
is weak and for why that person is
Jezebel's
accepting of
You
the
think-
psychological manipulations and warfare used by Democrats. This young man is a musician. He just probably doesn't want to hurt his liberal friends and ruin
no,
his,
I don't
and
mind
ruin
that.
his
This young man is so
positionality.
whitewashed, he
That is
doesn't
the
even know how to be
worst.
black anymore.
So you think that because we're
If you want to
racist,
go
we
there
don't like a
about
strong man?
my
Can I also
cleavage,
ask
I
how
can go
lifting
there.
weight is
Do you
in
even
any
have
way
you
related to
do you even
Republicanism?
know anything
Actually,
about
you
studies
are
show
heritage.
that
Let's,
People who go to the
let's
gym,
reset.
specifically
Let's
more like
reset. We
conservative.
want to be very cautious
would
of
definitely get
descending
beat up
into
if you went
personal
down the street.
insults. We want to be
Well, that's what
cautious
she's
of any
done.
personal
She's a
insults.
But you'll make it in
Kumbaya.
Yale and Harvard for
Deep
sure.
breaths, inhale, exhale.
Deep breaths. That's right, lady.
She said, you want to come after my cleavage? You're not even black. Oh my God. What a fucking shit show. I mean, listen, if you want to make an argument, you can't go after people's looks. You can't look at someone and say you haven't lifted a weight. That's why you're going to vote Democrat. No one's going to listen to you because you sound like a fucking dumbass.
Maga, can you guide everybody in a deep breath?
Zen.
We thought this would be a calm one.
Oh my gosh, I totally did. Yeah.
If my eyes were closed, you would be white.
Where do they get their news? Because all your
Let's avoid personal
Yeah,
attacks.
please don't speak about my cleavage. Melania shows more than I do.
All right. The next prompt is the 2020 election was rigged. Will the agreeers please step forward?
I studied the lighting before I came here. That seat, and this seat have the best lighting.
Yeah, so just so we're all clear, no one said there's no evidence of fraud. The decisions that were made by judges was that there was not enough fraud to overturn the election. So it's an analytical decision that I never saw any actual test on how that can be proved.
The prompt says it was rigged. You
Right.
believe it was rigged.
100%.
And why?
Well, number one, there's anomalies in almost every swing state. Pennsylvania, Wisconsin, Arizona, Georgia. Mail-in balloting was put in as a tool in order for the left to pump more votes. Republicans have been fighting against voter fraud and for election integrity for years. I guess some of these people, maybe 2020 was the first time they ever thought.
Yeah, election fraud is not a fucking problem. They investigated multiple different states, including Georgia. They did not really find any fraud. Also, Trump is on tape begging people to, just add a couple votes here and there. So I don't really know what the fuck he's talking about.
That an election could be rigged, but Republicans have been fighting against purging old inactive voter names off of rolls for a long time. President Trump, one of the first things he did was he tried to get secretaries of states to cooperate and submit data so they can prove the fraud was happening. And what happened? Democrat state secretary of states did not agree to comply. And uniparty secretary of states also did the same thing.
And just so I can be crystal clear, just because it's a very technical thing,
Right.
you're saying there were anomalies, you don't believe they were rigorously investigated.
I believe that they were all swept under the rug, and we can get into every individual situation, such as what happened in Maricopa County, what happened in Fulton County in Georgia, but those intricacies might get extrapolated when these jokesters come up here, but I think that the proof is in the pudding. The election was rigged.
Well, and the thing that I saw as well, when these cases went to court, most of them were dismissed upon standing. The evidence was never heard. And that's something that they don't tell you. Another thing, it was almost like death by 1,000 cuts. We had COVID. Mass mail-in voting is not safe or secure. There's no chain of custody. I do not believe that Joe Biden.
Yeah, you know what's crazy? Mail-in voting actually is one of the safest forms of voting. The odds of getting voter fraud on that are less than 1%. So I don't know what they're talking about.
Biden got more votes than Barack Obama. I just don't. Donald Trump got the most votes of any former president in history, and yet we had the machines shut down at night. I saw ballots pulled from under a table. I saw a woman scan them again and again and again. I watched the hearing when
Where'd you see those?
Where'd I see that?
Yeah, just.
I saw it when they were having the hearings in the beginning when they were presenting the cases.
Gotcha.
I also saw.
Okay, so you basically didn't see it. What the fuck is she even talking about?
I lost my train of thought.
sorry.
It's okay. But I just think, we had the Zuckerbucks. We had it wasn't just one thing, it was multiple things coming together. I would love to see California get rid of mass mail-in voting. I'm fine with absentee ballots. My son is a Marine. And when I ran for office, he had just gotten out of boot camp. And after he got out of boot camp, he came home for 2 weeks before being shipped to Pensacola, voted by mail. We tracked his ballot, he never got there. It never got there. So if my own child, when I was a candidate, his vote didn't get there, why should I believe that doesn't happen a lot?
And to expand upon this a little bit, one of the biggest things that the left likes to bring up when it comes to 2016 and the idea of Russian interference is actually Facebook ads, Facebook memes basically trying to influence the electorate via social media. That was considered election interference back then. Fast forward to 2020, and you actually have sites like Facebook and even Twitter blocking the Hunter Biden laptop story, which we know for a fact independents especially say would have absolutely swayed the way they voted in the 2020 election. And it's not just the Hunter Biden laptop story. A bunch of other right-wing accounts have also been throttled by big tech. We know this. There was a push toward authoritative sources on sites like YouTube, which basically is the mainstream media, which is leftist media. So there was an attempt by big tech.
I just don't really understand this because, to be completely honest, all politics on YouTube, Instagram, Facebook is getting censored. It's not just Republicans. I don't know why Republicans think it's just them, but all political content has been getting censored. But furthermore, Republicans have this tendency of lying when it comes to news and spreading a lot of misinformation. So yeah, if you're one of those people like Alex Jones spreading a bunch of misinformation, claiming you're on the right, you're not gonna get a platform on YouTube.
To control the narrative, which they did, suppress anti-Biden stories, which they did. I don't know how you can say that, maybe a Russian bot posting on Facebook, well, that's election interference, but Facebook itself, the platform, throttling important news, that's not election interference.
And this isn't a left or right thing.
Exactly.
I can say I posted the New York Post story. My Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, YouTube channels were censored immediately at the same time, and then they took my business pages. That should not happen in America.
Amen.
Just, focusing one more time on the prompt, just because I think this is really
I'd
important.
love to contribute something.
Yeah, and maybe you can respond to this.
It's about the prompt.
The word rigged. Do any of you believe there was like a coordinated, vast effort?
Absolutely.
And
yes.
just, could you kind of explain
I just
why?
need a clarification from you. You mentioned someone named Barack Obama. Did you mean Barack Hussein Obama?
Yes, that's the one.
Thank you. I wasn't sure. Anyway, so with the election in 2020, number one,
What the fuck was that supposed to do? Was that supposed to be an own towards Barack Obama? Yeah, bitch, he has a Muslim name. Go fuck yourself. What the fuck was the point of that?
we had unprecedented anomalies in the way that everybody voted. So that right there puts things into question because it was the first time we'd ever done it this way. And we all saw the voting places with cardboard over the windows so that Republicans couldn't see in. I'm willing to say, I don't have proof, I'm not 100% sure, but what I am 100% sure of is there has not been a completely transparent, bipartisan investigation.
Babes, you should have just stopped when you said, I'm not sure, I don't have proof, I'm not 100% about this. Should have just stopped right there.
Investigation of this so that we don't even have to argue about it. The fact that we're arguing about it means that there has not been a solid, concrete, fact-based investigation into that election.
And people need to trust the vote, or this is never going to go away. And I don't care if you're a Democrat or a Republican.
I don't trust the vote right now.
It's not up for debate. As she proved, was there media interference and was there censorship? Yes. Did that interfere with the election? Yes. Was there one single party pushing for unbridled mail-in votes because they thought that could increase their chance of winning? Unequivocally, yes. I think that is the proof in the pudding. The election was rigged. It's not up for debate.
Amen.
Okay, let's bring in our disagreeers.
I personally would have voted for Trump in 2020. I think for me, a lot of the shift in how I view, versus Republican, Democrat versus like Trump being an anomaly has come after the 2020 election with his behavior on, the election being rigged and things. But I think that I was willing to hear him out. He's a sitting president. He makes claims of fraud. You have to, respect that because you're in office. Like especially if it's in your own party, you have to hear them out. But when there were 60 court cases, and you can say that they were, I know you think that they weren't heard.
They were dismissed on standing.
But
let's hear what he's.
Most of those judges, or at least half of them, were pro-Trump judges, and all of those cases went up to the Supreme Court. Okay? Every single one of the important cases went up to the Supreme Court, and the Supreme Court denied the writ of certiorari. All right? And so the 6-3 Supreme Court that Donald Trump had just put in, that conservatives celebrated as being completely legitimate and they would bring about a lot of great change for conservatives, they didn't accept any of the charges that Donald Trump made against the electorate. And then you have Sidney Powell, you have Rudy Giuliani, all getting criminally charged because they lied about the election.
Sidney just won her case.
Okay, but that...
Sidney just won 2 days ago.
Go into specifics.
She won.
Saying what?
She was not guilty.
Okay, I didn't see that.
Yeah, look it up.
Okay,
2 days ago.
But there have been a bunch of suits.
Rudy Giuliani is still.
Yeah, Rudy Giuliani is definitely going down.
America's mayor.
So, but there were suits made, like for example, Fox News settled $787 million with Dominion Voting. Okay, James O'Keefe settled with the people that he defamed through the Erie, Pennsylvania, like post office.
Whistleblower defamed them, not James O'Keefe. A whistleblower
yeah, but
said
he and his
heard
media
election
group, which
fraud.
published it,
right? So
as
there's
being
nuance there.
censory.
It sounds like you don't understand the nuance of a lot of these issues. You just said half the judges.
Nuance meaning what?
You said half the judges who dismissed these cases were pro-Trump judges. What does that mean? They were appointed by Bush. They weren't appointed by Trump.
There was a lot. There were Republican judges. Right? What
So they were appointed by Trump.
Are you saying there's like this massive scheme among the judges? The judges got together beforehand and they were like, oh, like, you know what? We actually all hate Donald Trump.
I do believe they all hate Donald
You
Trump.
think all of them got together?
You're saying,
I think
you believe-
fact check, half of the dismissals were not judges that were appointed by Trump. That's
No, not appointed
You're
by
saying his information is wrong. What information do you
He just
feel
said that half of the judges that dismissed the cases were pro-Trump judges. And meaning
Pro-Trump,
what? What does
as
that
meaning
mean?
some of them were even appointed by Trump, right?
Half of them?
No, not half of them. I'm saying pro-Trump, as in like Republican appointees.
That does
right?
not mean you're pro-Trump if you were appointed
In the
by
2020
Bush.
election, I would
You
say
have
that
a
the vast
fundamental
majority...
misunderstanding of how the law works.
I would say that the vast
Judges
majority...
are not political. They are...
Whoa, judges are not political.
100%.
So that means that they didn't make political decisions to dismiss the election charges, right?
You saying that...
How can you say that judges aren't political when the Federalist Society exists? When they literally have a society funded by Republicans and mega donors to infiltrate the court system with Republicans and extremists. Like, this is literally American politics 101. You freaking idiot.
Saying that a judge was a pro-Trump judge is factually inaccurate.
No, but that
there
means
is no
you're
such
saying
thing as a
politics
pro-Trump
wasn't, so
judge.
politics wasn't involved in that.
I don't think you understand. This
Politics
is
wasn't
your
involved in
point,
their
not mine.
right?
You said these judges were pro-Trump. I'm
No,
saying
was
that wasn't
politics
true.
involved in their decision? I'm saying if politics was involved, they were pro-Trump.
Dismissing
Was politics involved in their decision?
dismissing a
Yes or
case
no?
does not mean that the voter
Yes
fraud
or
didn't
no?
happen, as she just showed.
So if they
explained
thought
to
that
you-
there was voter fraud in the country,
Okay. Right.
do you think that they would have said, oh yeah, this is an important thing that we need to solve, or do you think they would have
Not
just
if they
said,
want 'em
"Eh,
out."
it's fine? You think
Not-
all
not if-
60
not
of the
if
judges...
not if their
You think-
standard was there enough fraud to overturn the election?
You think all 60 judges just didn't
That
want
is
to
a-
pursue it?
I just-
Well,
I'm explaining to you.
I think the most
the
important thing
disagreement
to
is
remember
clear there.
here is we need to focus on joy, like the joy you felt when Joe Biden won.
That is not joy that I felt, actually. I hated it when Joe
Lady
Biden-
Maga's always.
I was rooting for Trump
Right.
to win.
I haven't heard
Honestly, Lady Maga just kind of makes herself look like an idiot when she says dumb shit like that. Because it's very clearly a low blow. This kid is clearly a conservative. He just genuinely looks at both candidates and like, okay, well, one candidate is really just a POS and the other one is also a POS, but not as deranged as the first one. It's just, in my opinion, it's so sad for someone to wake up and be like, you know what, I want to do drag inspired by Trump. That's really, I don't know what kind of psychology goes behind that, but I hope he's doing okay. I hope he's doing okay, because I feel like he might be really struggling if he's doing that.
I haven't heard anyone challenge whether or not censorship was a problem.
I will grant you
Censorship's
that
always been a
censorship was a problem, but
problem.
censorship is a problem on all
It's a problem
sides.
both ways.
No, it's not a
No, we
problem.
heard, I feel like
It's
we've heard some arguments from here. We have a clear disagreement
Obviously,
between you two.
censorship.
but
I have too
who
much
else- who
cleavage,
just-
so censorship is alive and well.
Yeah. What?
I mean, one thing is, it's not like Trump won by lost by 8 electoral votes or 12. He got killed. It was not close.
He didn't just need Michigan.
He needed so many of the states. And the other thing is, guess who's winning in all this discussion that we're all having all these years about rigged elections? I have a friend that was in the CIA until 2022 that mostly dealt with Russia. And they said, Corey, they don't really care so much.
Of course, this guy had a friend in the CIA that he can just freely talk about, because I totally believe that.
Who's president. All they care about is the American people losing faith in their elections. That's what they want, and that's what's happening. And so we're losing, all of us are losing. The fact that other could be China, all of them love that our institution of we're trusting our elections is getting destroyed. And the other thing is, no matter who wins in November, the other side is going to say the other side stole it, and the country is going to end. It's over. The country ends if Biden wins, or the country ends if Trump wins. We're in a really dangerous place regardless.
It happened in 2016 as well with Hillary. Everybody on the left was saying that.
I would agree with that.
But then shouldn't the focus be in strengthening elections, things like voter ID laws?
Oh, totally. It should voter ID. I mean, that's obvious. I don't know why the Democrats.
You want me to tell you what the issue with Republicans is? They believe in strengthening voter ID laws. They believe in voter fraud. They believe in taking out mail-in ballots and mail-in voting. But what they don't understand is that the Democrats have a completely different approach, right? Democrats go around and they try to mobilize and they try to get the younger generation to get out and vote. The whole entire thing that Democrats do is like they say, okay, let's do all these grassroots organizations, especially in places like Georgia. Stacey Abrams did an amazing job at it. And they were like, all right, let's try to register as many people as we humanly can, right? The Republicans are very focused on the wrong things. They're focused on the wrong things. And this is why they're in the shithole that they're in right now.
If you agree that these laws should be passed to secure our elections, then if they're not passed, then our elections are unsecure.
Well, no,
right?
because Laura Trump is also promoting mail-in ballots now, right? Laura Trump said a few weeks ago.
It's because it's the law.
No, she said that they should
It's because it's the law.
mail-in ballots.
Do you believe that we should have voter ID?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
I
So we don't have that now, right?
But there are Democrat states that have that too. Like New York has voter ID.
But if you think we should have voter ID, but we don't have it now, then by conclusion of logic, doesn't that mean our elections are insecure?
No. I mean, yes, but like not to a point where like it's to a point where like it can be investigated, right? Just because every state doesn't have voter ID,
dismissed on standing.
it's been the standard for years. Just because we have a better standard doesn't mean the old standard means that
our elections are insecure, but you don't think
No. You think that the election is a conspiracy just because every state doesn't have voter ID. Is that what you're saying?
What's driving the lack of security is a conspiracy. Yes.
The lack of security is a conspiracy.
The lack of a reason, the motivation to push for voter ID, to push for hand counts. We don't want to push for that because we want elections to be insecure.
Let me just say it this way.
Because they're
hand
rigged.
Counts, quote unquote, hand counts are disastrous. There was a case I just read about a few days ago where they tried to do a hand count for a local election for 50 votes, and it took them 6 hours in Arizona. There was a county in Arizona.
6 hours? Oh no!
That's not true. That's not true, by the way.
Let's hear the
point.
point.
I live in Arizona.
Let's just hear the point.
What are we gonna do?
It was for, I don't actually know. It was some state. I just read about it. You can probably fact check it afterwards. But,
even if it takes 24
There was
hours.
100 people. I can tell you, because I'm a state delegate. I was in that race. 100 people ran for state delegate. Everyone had to rank. The top 43 got in. So the people who did the hand count not only had to count one person, they had to rank ordinally everyone. And it wasn't 6 hours. It took a couple of hours to get the hand count done.
There was a small local election, and there were
LD12.
votes.
I'm telling you.
And they had recount after recount, and they actually mismatched like the amount of count.
Honestly, this is what I don't like about debates like this, because like you're not educating people, you're not swaying anyone, you're literally just yelling over each other. You're just yelling over each other. That's what you're doing.
Counts that they had. So I'm saying that like if you do hand counts, like we have the technology. The technology is not inaccurate. If you do recounts, like it's just going to cause more mass chaos.
The computers are always
You just agreed that our elections are insecure. I want you to think about what you just agreed about.
And all right, Dominion voting is a Canadian.
We got it done?
Canadians do not use Dominion votings. They only use paper ballots because they recognize that any electronic system is going to be inherently insecure.
And you live in Alabama.
I've been told that I look like Justin Trudeau. All right, we're going to reset. Have you ever wondered what it's like to be a spiritual advisor to somebody who's on death row? Or have you ever wanted to know the mind of somebody who almost became a school shooter? Well, those are two conversations that I had on my podcast called Radical Empathy. If you enjoy Middle Ground, you'll probably enjoy
How about no? Why would I want to listen to a podcast of a guy that almost became a mass shooter? Jubilee needs help. What is going on with Jubilee? That's horrifying. No, legit. That is so terrifying. I don't know if, oh God, this is giving me a headache. Like this is, yeah, radical centrism. Let's see the both sides of the shooter. What the hell, bro, this ad? Hey, listen to my podcast where I interviewed a guy that almost became a mass shooter. Said literally nobody ever but this guy. Okay, you know what? I think that's my call. Jubilee is just so fucking insufferable. Jubilee is like one of those channels where they just honestly, they just not it. They're just not it. All right, thank you so much for watching that YouTube channel. My summary for that video was that it was absolutely insufferable, and that's why I usually don't review Jubilee videos. But of course, if they come out with another debate panel that's worth watching, I will watch it. Did I like it though? No, I didn't. It was terrible. Anyways, make sure you like, comment, and subscribe for more videos like this, and I will see you guys next time.